What's up and welcome to the Kinda Funny Gamescast for Monday, July 15, 2024. Of course, I am your host, Tim Geddes. Today, I am joined by the Master of Hype, Snowbike Mike.
Hello, Tim. Thanks for having me today.
The Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
Tim, thanks for having me today.
And joining us from sunny San Diego, it is the best voice in the business, Paris Lilly.
Thank you for having me.
Very excited to talk to y'all today about Concord. You've been playing it all weekend. Is that right, Andy? How much you been playing?
All weekend.
All weekend.
Like,
Mike, what about you?
Like way more than I thought I would.
I haven't played at all. I've only played since my preview period. I was just asked to be here.
Okay.
And so I'm going to ask some questions and also gauge their response because I was the first one to play it. And I was like, oh, this is a pretty good game. And I was worried of like, am I wrong? Am I right? Where's everybody else feeling it? So I'm excited to hear what these guys think.
Was your weekend filled with playing this game, Paris?
Concord. That's what I played all weekend. I
love it. Then we're going to have a great conversation here today on the Kinda Funny Gamescast. Of course, we do this each and every weekday live on Twitch and YouTube. You can get it later on podcast services around the globe. And we do it each and every day. We do a whole bunch of different things. Live talk shows. It's kind of our whole deal here at Kinda Funny. Right before this, we did Kinda Funny Games Daily where Greg and I were breaking down a whole bunch of things about video game tattoos and video game ornaments. It was a pretty slow news day, everybody. But it was good conversations left and right. We also talked about your college football, Mike.
Tim,
yeah, Mike getting offended over
crazy.
here.
That is crazy.
It's a slow news day. Oh, we get to talk about a decade-old video game coming back, Tim.
Yeah. If you want to hear about football, you can check out that and many other things we got, including tomorrow's tailgate stream, which is really exciting. Do you want to talk about that for a sec, Mike?
Yeah, really excited. You know, we're going to bond over some, the pigskin. We're going to toss the pill around. Greg's going to fire up the barbecue. I got a tent. I got a bunch of chairs. I got a TV for the car. We're going to go outside. And we're going to have some fun. It's going to be a great time.
I'm very excited for this because as somebody that does not understand or care about football and all that stuff, I do understand barbecue. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I'm excited about this.
Oh, I forgot to respond to Greg's Slack asking who was gonna be eating here. I meant to say me.
The first comment.
Yeah. I wish you were here, Paris. You know, that would be fun.
Yeah.
But then on top of all that, we do have a lot of fun stuff to talk about, including what you can see on the desk right now. If you go to kindafunny.shop, you can get Greg Miller's children's book that has been about 10 years in the making. It's finally here. It's finally real. Portillo the Wiener Dog thinks he's a manatee. It is awesome, amazing art by the homie Josh Strickland. It's so cool. Like, Andy, you're holding it right now. It's a real hardcover children's book that Greg wrote.
Fantastic art. This is a real ass book right here, Tim.
Real ass book. Moose is there. Toretto's there.
Oh my god.
Amazing
oh my
stuff.
god. Here's Tiberius.
Yeah.
What's his real name?
Cecil.
Yeah.
That's his fucking name.
Yeah.
That's oh my god. I can't spoil it in here. This is so
great
cute.
stuff in there, everybody. So
That's
definitely
so cute.
go and check it out. Kindafunny.shop. There's also a whole line of Porty merch, including the embroidered sweatshirt and t-shirts and the fun little hat that Nick's wearing there, and he looks damn good doing it.
I don't have to worry about spoiling it, Tim. It looks like it's in the hovered thumbnail on the website. It was just a shot of Greg on Discord. Yep. I was like, oh, that's adorable.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff in there. But again, remember, this is the Gamescast. Each and every day we get together to talk about video games and everything we love about them. Right after this, though, we're going to be doing our live reaction to the Captain America trailer. It'll be me, Greg, and Nick giving our reactions to that. And then after that, these boys right here are going to get chained together and continue their adventures over there, which should be a whole bunch of fun. Today we're brought to you by Harry's and Portillo the Wiener Dog thinks he's a manatee, but we'll tell you about that later. Shout out to our Patreon producers, Carl Jacobs and Delaney Twining, and I didn't even mention the Kinda Funny membership. You can watch the show ad-free, watch live as we record them, and you get a daily exclusive Greg Way, and even you get to watch the Kinda Funny podcast that we're about to do later in the afternoon live. We'll be talking all about Greg's first experience with Ben at Disneyland. Ben's first Disneyland experience ever. I got to be a small part of that as well. So very excited to talk all about that. But enough about that. We got to get to the topic of the show. It's Concord, baby. Where do I want to start? Paris Lilly, you've been playing Concord all weekend long. What do you think?
You know, I'm actually very conflicted. Because there's definitely something here with Concord. When I am playing Concord, I'm having a lot of fun playing it. But the longer I've played it, I've started to see some of the flaws in the game. And I bring that up because sure, it's a beta, and I've tried to have that in my head. Look, it's a beta. They'll resolve some of this stuff as they get feedback on it. But I just wonder some of the flaws that I'm seeing, if they'll have enough time to get those resolved by launch. Couple in the fact that it is $40. I'm sure we'll get into that conversation as well. I do have some concern about it early on, in that I wonder, with this already going to a very crowded hero shooter genre, is there enough there for it to stand out from the crowd to get more people to jump in and playing it? But the game itself, like I would say around about the fourth or fifth match, it clicked for me of what this is, how to use the characters, the weapons, the abilities, things like that. I mean, there's things like I'm saying they need to clean up, like the time to kill definitely needs to be shortened. I think it's a little too long right now. Some of the abilities are definitely overpowered compared to some other characters. I've already found some strategies in there that are definitely going to be kind of game breaking in a way. I don't want to get too in depth on them, but people that have been playing might know what I'm talking about. And this is the point of a beta. This is what they'll need to work on to resolve. So there's for sure something there with Concord. I am liking Concord. I'm liking the direction that it's going, but there's some things they for sure are going to have to clean up long term.
Andy Cortez, you've been playing as well.
Yeah, I have about 15 hours in or maybe 14 or so over the weekend. I really love this game so far.
Love, big word.
I'm dealing with still the PC problem. Don't tell Greg that I'm dealing with like a couple of PC bugs. Sometimes my game just tabs out. Sometimes my character just keeps running left, and I have to like tab out, tab back in. And has it led to a couple of deaths? Of course. Have I blamed a couple of deaths on it that really weren't the game's fault? Of course. I think there's such a strong core with Concord. I think the $40 price point, why would I play that when there's a lot of free-to-play games out there? Oh, God, man, here we go.
Oh, my God. Fucking shocking, everybody. Shocking.
PC gaming doesn't work.
PlayStation game on PC, it won't be a problem.
God, man, I didn't miss him. Can you go back to Disneyland? Can you go back to LA? There's such a strong game there. There's such a why would I pay $40 if there's a lot of free to play options out there? Well, if you're asking that option, are you playing those free to play options? Are you the type of person that's like, it's way too late for me to get into a game like Valorant or Overwatch or Rainbow Six Siege? This is a time to kind of jump in while it's still unknown. This is my time to kind of like hop into a game that everybody's starting from square one. There's a lot of different ways you can go about that thought process. But I think at its core, the game is really, really fun. I love these new sort of ideas they're introducing that I guess encourage the player to experiment with playing with a lot of different heroes. This doesn't seem like a game that you are going to just main one character or even two characters. You're going to want to sort of go all around the roster because of how the game is constructed and how the game, I think, really creatively lends itself to allowing the players to experiment with like a roster of multiple different characters.
Elaborate on that a little bit. Like, what is it that makes you like? Why wouldn't you say that about an Overwatch? But you feel like, oh, the gameplay of this makes you want to use different characters.
So Concord is not a game that really tells you to main a tank or main whatever. This isn't like you're playing Valorant where you hop into a round and you're like, we need a duelist. We need a whatever role. We need a whatever role, right? I think the way that Concord is constructed, and it took a while for me to actually understand what the game wants you to do instead of just, when we were streaming it with me, Blessing, and Nick, and it was our first time playing it, I was like, Nick, I just want to let me be the revolver guy. You're being the revolver guy. You're not doing great right now, Nick. Let me be the revolver guy. And we would talk shit about each other, and Nick was like, well, it'd be really cool if I could play that character. We're just going at it like that. But the way that the game works is you can create a crew. And what a crew is you selecting 12 characters. And while you create this crew, you can call this crew like, this is the crew that I use for Team Deathmatch. This is the crew that I use for search and diffuse or whatever when you're planning the bomb mode or whatever. So you can kind of construct different crews based on what modes you're going to be playing, based on the different characters that do different things, because some of them do heal, some of them are chunkier, some of them are way faster and good at flanking the enemy, right? So when you create a crew, you are also creating a set of bonus perks that you can make. And it's kind of confusing at first, but once you understand it, I think it's really cool in what it does. So every of these free gunner characters is what they're called. They're called free gunners. Every one of them has a passive bonus ability. And they all have a lot of abilities, which is really neat because it doesn't feel like you need to really... They're not deep enough to where it feels like, oh, it's going to take forever for me to learn this character and master it. It doesn't feel like that at all. Like, they all have enough to make them unique, but it doesn't feel like, oof, got to learn this character. This is going to be quite a challenge, right? Every character has these bonus abilities, and these 6 bonus abilities are improved weapon recoil, longer weapon range, improved mobility, faster dodge cooldown, increased healing received, and faster reload speed. And each one of these characters has one of those assigned to it. By the end of it, I'll just kind of give you an example of by the end of my strategy of playing it in the last 6 hours or whatever. When I would start a match, I played a lot of team deathmatch. I had so much freaking fun with it. I would start off with the sniper. The sniper gives you improved, longer weapon range. You play as a sniper, get a couple of kills as a sniper. Now, for the rest of that match, any character you select has a longer weapon range perk added to them. I can keep on going with the sniper, but I would be better fit to switch over to a character, I'll call him like the Drax-like character, who's like the big dude with the gun. Very, very OP if you start to kind of get good with him. Has a very big charge, can do like a ground pound attack, and then bust out the shotgun. Very, very effective. So now, that dude's shotgun now has longer weapon range on it. And because I'm using the dude, I'm also getting the benefits of faster dodge cooldown. Because every one of these characters has a sort of dodge to get in and out of action or whatever. Now, if I start doing well with him, but then I die, and I look and go, ooh, this character's available. Nobody on my team has selected this character. Let me go select the, I don't know, whatever character, just any sort of DPS character. Now, anybody that I play from here on out has the benefits of longer weapon range, a faster dodge cooldown, and you start sort of building this up, and you can create a crew to where by the end of it, if you've used enough and swapped around enough characters, all of your characters will have all of these up to 6 perks.
Interesting.
And maybe you don't use them all because you just rinse the other team, and it's like, oh, I only used 2 characters, only had 2 perks, but who cares, we won. Or if you're at the end of a really close match and it's like, oh shit, I could switch to this character who now has the abilities of having increased healing, faster dodge, improved mobility, improved weapon recoil. By the end of it, you can feel really, really buffed up with a lot of different characters at the end of the match if you're playing it correctly.
Now,
so unique, so freaking cool.
Paris, do you agree? Did you find someone you were maining, or did you find yourself like Andy, kind of playing around with a whole bunch of different characters?
Yeah, so I definitely played around with a lot of characters, but what I found, and that's what I was kind of alluding to before, as far as the balancing goes of the weapons and abilities, everything Andy is saying is 100% correct. Now, the game does not outright tell you to do what Andy's talking about right now. You kind of start figuring that on your own. But I don't know about you, Andy. I found myself, I would say, in my last couple hours of playing, I was just maining Itzy. She has the teleport and the SMG, and she's OP. She's very OP. I didn't need to use her passive stuff to start upgrading other characters. I just ran with her through those various matches. And again, I noticed some other people using other various buffs with the healing and the blockades that you can put down as well. And they were just building strategies out of that versus doing what Firewalk is intending for you to do with these characters. And that's where I think it's going to need a little more time in the oven as far as balancing that stuff out, because right now you can probably just run with about 3 or 4 different characters and you can just completely own the game.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting in that sense, in that over the weekend of playing 15, 14 hours or whatever, seeing strategies kind of start to get popular because there's not a big player base. I played against a lot of kind of funny community members who were just trying out the beta and be like, oh, hop into my chat and be like, you just destroy the shit out of me, dude. That's usually how it was.
Of course.
Nobody ever hopped in.
That's the
nobody ever hopped in and was like, damn, I destroyed you, bro. Yeah. But what was really cool is like I would see a strategy start to get built, Paris, and then immediately a counter strategy to that. And a lot of that goes with the sort of character selection. But again, this does not feel like even like the early days of Overwatch where you could play without a tank. You don't feel screwed whenever your team is all smaller characters that are really fast that don't have a big health pool. You don't feel like you are screwed in that sense. Or like when I hop into Valorant, I'm like, God damn it, dude, we don't have any person who puts out little smokes to stop vision. Or, man, our team has all duelists. Are you shitting me? Like, that's all we're going to be doing here. We're going to lose. I don't feel that way because the game is encouraging you to swap around. And my team, for the most part, was always swapping around to different free gunners. I think Itzy was great. Blessing was using Itzy quite a bit, Paris. And the awesome thing about it is I told Blessing how all of this stuff works. He's like, oh, shit, I didn't know that.
Right.
Then he would pick somebody else and go, and he would have the same experience I had. I would select another free gunner and go, nah, I'm not really vibing with this. About 10 minutes later, okay, I'm kind of getting this. And then you're like, here's another free gunner I love. Here's somebody else in my roster that I could easily switch to and help out my team win. I had way more fun with this game than I thought I would. I knew I was looking forward to it because I thought it kind of had that Destiny PvP mic, right? Like we see all the characters flying around and everybody, for the most part, I think like 80 or 90% of the characters have a double jump. I think some things that we can fix are like the really big tanky characters, make them like 10 to 15% faster. They are definitely way too slow because they have a larger health pool. But you could find really cool strats with, hey, you pick the heal person. I'll be the person with the gigantic lady with a sort of like machine gun, Gatling gun, but then can bust out a shield. If you're standing right there, you're healing me, have our DPS people flanking. Like, there's a lot of really cool strats you can sort of have with this game. And again, I only really ever played the casual type modes because right now during this beta, you're allowed 2 different sort of modes you can play, which offer 4 different styles of games. The two different sort of genres are Brawl and Rivalry that are available right now. There's 2 other tabs there that are unselectable right now during the beta. So Brawl and Rivalry. Inside of Brawl, you have Takedown and Trophy Hunt, which is Slayer, which is kill confirmed. You can, on Takedown, it's just get the most kills, get the first to 30 kills. On Trophy Hunt, it's if you kill somebody, they drop their dog tag, like in Call of Duty. Got to go pick it up, got to go retrieve it. And the other mode is Rivalry, which consists of 2 different game types called Cargo Run and Clash Point. One of them is a search and defuse type game, and the other game is a kind of King of the Hill type Clash Point, like you're used to in Halo or Call of Duty or whatever. And those I played less of because I had less fun on those. I don't feel like the search and destroy mode, which I think gets very tense when you're playing Call of Duty or Valorant or Counter-Strike or anything like that. Maybe I didn't play enough of it. You feel the tension when you're playing these Valorant type games, Mike. You feel like, oh shit, it's a 1v2. Where's the person? I got to go defuse. They're somewhere out there. But when you're playing like this cast of characters that all have a lot of different abilities, it felt less tense. And Clash Point, I actually never even got to play Clash Point because I just had so much fun hopping into Brawl for about 14 hours.
Paris, did you get to have a preference for one mode or another? Did you play this Clash Point?
I found myself, it's very similar to Andy, Trophy Hunt. Oh, is it Trophy Hunt? Basically the dog tags. That was the one that I enjoyed the most because I felt there was a little more strategy involved with that. Like, okay, even though you got the kill, now you got to go pick up the tags. You know, there's danger around the corner. Again, with these characters with the various abilities and everything, if you get with a team that's communicating and strategizing, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the Cargo Run mode, which is the search and destroy type thing, it's first to, I believe, 4 rounds or 1. I think it's like maybe best out of 7. Yeah. Best 4 out of 7. And let's say you all select like your favorite characters. You win that round, you can't pick that character again.
Right.
that is now removed from your roster. So you have to pick somebody else and hope that you win with whatever character that you're going for next. So it encourages, or not necessarily encourages, but it helps you show that, hey, you can't just pick the same squad all the time and dominate. You're going to have to be multifaceted and be decent with several different free gunners.
So you said there's 12 characters.
No, there are, I believe, 14 or 16 or something like that.
I think it's 16. I think it's 16.
You create a roster of 12 characters.
Okay, gotcha. Is that overwhelming? With that many characters, with that many abilities, are you finding yourself understanding, okay, there's some archetypes, they all kind of control the same, so I'm good with this? Or is it like, oh man, like, I'm going to have to play a lot to figure out the nuance between all of them?
Paris?
I think you're gonna have to play a while to get the nuance of all the characters, because it's only, I would say, even as of this morning, I'm still characters like, okay, here's a secondary ability. Oh, I can use it this way. You know what I mean? Because it is a big roster that you're gonna have to get used to. But at the same time, this game is meant to be played over the long haul. I think I'll just say really quick that what kind of excites me about is beyond this beta, like you're seeing, okay, there's other modes that we haven't even tried yet, but even just the progression path of it, there's going to be layers to it that is going to push you towards certain characters during various weeks, because you're going to be able to upgrade them and you're going to be able to get certain perks and, cosmetic items and things like that. So I can see beyond the beta where they're trying to go with this. And that actually excites me a lot.
Yeah, I think, the crew aspect of it is nice, because seeing 16 players and scrolling through them all in a moment's notice to pick your character is kind of overwhelming. So it is, hey, find the crew you like, you start picking them out. And it also leads to the variance of each character. So you can get multiples of certain characters that have the different passives and put them in. And so now I can have 3 of the same guy, but each one of those guys does something a little bit different. Did you experience the variance, and what did you think of that?
Yeah, so I think it's really, really neat. I don't know if there's a better way of maybe communicating that. Maybe within the menu you're selecting something else, but then I think the reason why they give you 3 different choices, like if you want 2 different, the character Lennox, who's basically Cassidy, formerly known as McCree, got that hand cannon or whatever, got that revolver style gun. I unlocked 2 different versions of Lennox, and one of them, when you do your dodge, it instantly reloads the hand cannon weapon. The other one, when the passive is they have more ammo in their cartridge and their clip or whatever. So they just have more ammo. They can shoot more times without needing to reload. In your crew of 12, you could put both variants there. I didn't find myself doing that because I like the version of Lennox that just already has the reload with the dodge. I think it reminds me of playing as Cassidy, and it's such a neat little feature or whatever. But I do really like that aspect. I never unlocked the other versions of Itzy, though. Paris, did you happen to? Because Itzy is the character that she throws out like a teleportation orb, and she could be running at somebody, shoot, teleport behind him, suddenly they're there. Sick. Oh my God, I pulled out. Let me just tell you, this is going to be like.
Give us the highlight.
This is going to be like when you're talking about like your fantasy football team and nobody cares, right? There's a play with Itzy, because when she dodges, she creates a double of herself. Yeah. And the double is just like it's a fake or whatever. And I'm running and I hear somebody hot on my heels. I dodge backwards. I teleport behind the person. It was like the most MLG I've ever felt in my life. This shit was so sick. But Itzy has such a deep sort of pocket of abilities and really makes her fun to use. Now, I didn't unlock the different variants like I was just trying to get to a little while ago, and Paris said he didn't either, but Blessing has 3 different versions of this character, Itzy. I don't know what the 3 different variants do, but if you're the type that's like, hey, I'm 100% in on playing as Itzy, and I'm pretty good at these other characters, you're probably going to want to put 3 different variants in your roster based on the situation.
Interesting, okay.
Or if you're playing a type of match where, like when I was playing with Lennox, I love having that dodge that reloads my weapon. That's more beneficial to this game type than the other type is. I won't put the other version in this roster of 12 that I'm selecting. I just felt like there were so many heroes, and that's just the Overwatch term, heroes, but there was so many of these free gunners that I would hop into, be like, I don't know about this one, and then immediately get them because they are not the most complicated thing to learn. And I think that's really, really awesome about it is like initially when we were playing on stream, it was overwhelming because we were on stream and we're trying to perform, we're trying to be good immediately. And that's likely not going to happen because you have to understand that a lot of these characters have their different things. And there's no shooting range to just kind of test out these characters. Wish there was a shooting range to just let me take a character and just hop in and run and see what they do. And so that's kind of like one of my big piece of feedbacks. I hope that they add something like that to let people kind of get a hang of their character and figure out what the hell does this character do and why should I want to play as them.
I would say jumping in on that. I actually have two variants of, oh my God, I'm blanking on, again, so many characters and names, but with the grenade launcher, her, because I was using her a lot early on. So I have a couple variants of her. But the one thing to everything that Andy's again talking about is that's one of the flaws that I see currently in the game is I don't think it explains stuff enough. I don't know if there needs to be just a straight up tutorial added to it or what, but a lot of these things aren't spelled out to you directly, and unless you hardcore get into this, you're simply not going to know about them because there's nothing there to indicate or push you towards understanding that.
You would assume they're going to have some sort of you versus the bots game mode where you'll be able to jump in and play against NPCs and just say, hey, I'm going to try every single one of these characters right now and have that almost shooting range feel, right?
Yeah. I would hope so. I don't know if Paris, if you ever played the Valorant console beta.
I did not.
But one of the best examples of a tutorial you could ever do, because when I played the PC version, it's hard to remember exactly what that tutorial was like, but it wasn't super deep. This was really cool walking the character through. Oh, and now there's an enemy coming from over here. You're probably going to want to use this ability. Oh, cool. And you start to learn like, they have abilities. They're planting the bomb. We should go defuse it now. Let's go defuse the spike or whatever. Really, really neat kind of almost story-based thing where the characters are talking to you and it's not just a narrator's voice telling you how to play the game. I thought it was amazingly well done, and I hope to see something like that, even though this isn't the deepest game in terms of like, well, I guess you are playing a search and destroy mode, so maybe I just take those words back what I mentioned, but I think it would greatly benefit a mode like that, Mike.
What did you think of the movement, right? Of like, you'll notice it's first-person shooter, but then you get pulled out the third person as you dodge. We talked about the floatiness of a Destiny PvP. We're in a world now where it's all about cranking soggy 90s, whether it be slide canceling in Call of Duty. What did you think of the movement?
Before you answer that, I want to get a lot of the gameplay stuff and all that after a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Harry's. I always hate when I buy something and then I talk to someone else and I realize I way overspent and they got it for cheaper. It's happened to all of us, but getting ripped off is no joke, especially when there's razors involved. The people at Harry's were tired of seeing everyday people paying way too much for low quality shaving products. So they found a way to make beautifully designed razors without laughably high prices. You can get better designed and better value grooming products made by a company that forged their own path in the grooming industry. Harry's has been keeping me looking right for years, and you already know I'm going to count on them for a high quality shave for my wedding. Highest customer satisfaction in the shaving industry. No risk trial. You don't like your shave? No worries. It's on them. Convenient subscription options that allow you to cancel at any time, and you can stop getting ripped off. With Harry's, you can get a shave that's a cut above the rest. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/kindafunny. That's harrys.com/kindafunny for a $3 trial set.
Major announcement. I wrote a children's book, and you can buy it right now. My first ever children's book, Portillo the Wiener Dog Thinks He's a Manatee, is available as a limited run at kindafunny.com/store. I'm forever grateful to Kinda Funny best friend Josh Strickland for stepping in to help turn my dream into a reality with his amazing original illustrations. To celebrate the book launch, we're also bringing back the Portillo hat and t-shirt, along with a fun new crew neck that you can wear while you're reading the book to your kids or pets. Head over to kindafunny.com/store right now and check it out before it disappears.
Sorry, Andy. Go for it. Talk about the feel
of the game. I mean, I think it feels the way it looks. I don't think it does anything better or worse than what I've expected or what I expected from a keyboard mouse shooter. I don't really have any issues with the movement at all. I think a lot of the issues that I had is what I mentioned earlier, is I think the big brawler type characters that are just way too slow because they have a big health pool. Increase that speed a tiny bit, because there are times where you are respawning so far away from your squad, and this game is all about sticking with teammates. You need to stick with your teammates. You're rarely going to just 1v1 somebody, and you also don't know if you're pulling off a massive flank if there only is one person there. There's a good chance that there's 2 or 3 other players there, and so you want to stick with players. And one thing that always bummed me out was maybe near the end of the match, I'm selecting a big bruiser character, and I spawn, and I see on the radar my team is really, really far away. And these maps are really large. These are not tiny, like midship style, like Beaver Creek type maps. These are gigantic, really large maps that are way larger than I thought they'd be. And a lot of that is because of the different styles of movement that these characters have. And so, yeah, I would say that movement is what I expect, but I didn't play on controller, and I would feel like that's... I don't know if you played on controller, Paris.
I did.
So,
I used DualSense.
Well, how did it feel in terms of how did the aim assist work? How did all the abilities and the button sort of mapping, was that favorable for you?
I mean, it was okay. That's where, again, I think that could use a little bit of fine tuning as well. I think the aim assist overcompensated a little too much for my taste. And that was even on PS5, because I bounced back and forth between that and playing on Steam, but I wanted to use the DualSense for both. So it just seems like it overcompensated a little too much for me. To your point, just about the speed of the game, that would be one of my other complaints. I just feel like they need to speed it up just a tad. And I understand strategically you want the big tank characters to be slower, than like Itzy as an example, right? 'Cause she's super fast. But like you said, you might respawn on a certain point in the map. Everybody's already on the other side, and you're just doom, trying to get back over there. And by the time you get over there, now you're by yourself, and you get triple teamed and you die. You got to start all over again. So there's some tweaks they for sure got to do on that.
Yeah, and in terms of balancing, I don't expect a whole lot of games to be, perfectly balanced, or I don't expect a whole lot of games to not have discourse around balancing, because as somebody who closely follows Overwatch still and the world of Valorant, like I still hear every day, how the fuck are they buff that character again? Like, that's just part of it. They're gonna try to get it down as best as possible, but I think balancing, you're always gonna have people saying that this character, that buff was unnecessary. Why are you nerfing that character? Nobody's even using them, and you gave them a nerf still. Like, that's just part of these style of games.
How do you guys feel about the maps? You're saying that they're big. Are they memorable? Are they do they feel like they're justified in their scale, or are they kind of just it is a means to an end, and they're kind of just a thing that's there to allow you to shoot other people?
I enjoyed the look of them. I think the game looks fantastic in terms of the way the maps are designed. I think they're super smart, having that sort of 3 lanes of action. Sometimes there's maybe a second story. There's like a very, very sci-fi looking level that reminds me a lot of Destiny, where the walls are like these sort of like purple crystal type vibes. And that one has like some elevation to it. But for the most part, I didn't have really any issues with the maps. I never played a map over these 14 hours and went, shit, I don't love playing on this one. I prefer the other 2 or whatever. And I think that's definitely a very good sign that I enjoyed most of the maps. And I really love the art style, this sort of 70s retro sci-fi that they're going for.
What do you think, Paris?
Yeah, I would add on to that, to where I feel like the maps are designed to kind of push us into certain areas of it, to where the action's going to happen. I never felt like there was just a specific choke point to where, how am I trying to explain this? I feel like there wasn't any real choke points in the map that, all right, if I go down here, it's going to be instant death, because all they're going to do is just camp over here and they got me, right? There was obviously various ways to get into certain spots of the map. It was very vertical as well. I do want to see more maps in there. Because wait, how many is it? Because I feel like 3. Is it 3?
I kept playing 3, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if there was a different map set for the other modes when it comes to the search and destroy or the capture the hill.
No, they're the same maps.
Okay,
they're the same
gotcha.
maps. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did you play the map with the giant fish skull in the middle?
No.
Oh man, this is badass one. You're out on like
Oh,
a giant
see?
oil rig dock, right? And they got this giant, massive kaiju fish skull in the middle. And if you play the search and destroy mode, which is like neutral bomb, and then you go search and destroy, both teams look at the different side of the fish skull, but you can only come at it from certain angles. So somebody has to be the one to like run up and try to get into the skull to get the bomb. What a great time, man. That's a cool map.
It feels like that's kind of the style of map that they wanted to create, where the middle is always this large meeting place with not a whole lot of sight lines. The middle of a lot of these maps always has like large obstacles that aren't just going to allow people to go crazy if you're playing like the long range sniper Veil. You're
That's
not
how
just
I'm
going to be
trying-
able to
yeah,
be
good
picking off
point.
people nonstop
Yeah,
because there's a lot of kind of cover to go around. It's still a large meeting place, but there's a lot of things in the middle that, you know, give players the ability to kind of hide behind walls and things like that.
And I like that the maps are flexible enough that if you use, and again, I'm blanking on names, but the one character where you can create the barriers, right? So you can strategically like, all right, I want to block off this alleyway of people to come in. I put that barrier up so that you know no one's going to come that way. So you can kind of focus on maybe the 2 or 3 other entry points into that area. So again, if you're with the team and you're using, you know, the characters in a strategic way and their abilities, you can really flip the dynamics of the map on a dime.
I don't know if you guys saw it. They mentioned to me that a lot of the equipment was persistent, would go round to round. I know you didn't really play the round-based stuff, but did you notice that of like
Yes.
you could throw Veils like proximity mine, and if it doesn't go off, it will stay there
that's cool.
till the next round. So you could start seeing in your mind of like, oh, they're going to go this way. If I start putting stuff there, they might hit that the next time around. Did you notice that?
Definitely noticed that. And I did call that out during the stream. Like, oh, Mike mentioned something about these persistent sort of effects, whether it's a proximity mine or whether there's a character who's kind of like all made of plants. Their name is Lark, and Lark
Spores, yeah.
Lark will put down like a little healing flower that, well, I guess it doesn't heal you, but it makes you faster and it makes you take less damage. And you could put those all around the map, and as long as the enemy doesn't take them out, your team will have a bunch of different buffs around the map that you could just kind of use whenever you want, which is really sick. I noticed that a little bit, but again, playing the other mode, the brawl mode, I didn't experience that a whole lot.
I thought that was a fun one of like trying to make yourself unique and stand out. I think the free gunners all scream, hey, this is our own game. This is so cool. And the maps do that as well. And then, of course, we kind of talked when I had my preview, like that Sony touch, right? This lore, this narrative they want to build. And of course, it all goes into the maps, the free gunners. But did you watch that first cutscene? Did they give you multiple cutscenes? Did you go to the Galactic map, which is like the lore hub at all? Did you see that in the beta at all?
We didn't have a Galactic map option. The first cutscene that played was very lengthy, and then we saw the cutscene for week 1 called Free Gunners, I believe.
Oh, snap. Okay.
And the week 1 cutscene are 3 the characters, the witch lady who like flies around, so nasty. It's kind of funny talking about these characters because I keep on going, man, that character's nasty, but it's like only if you experience a player who's like using them. Like it rarely felt like if we had this character on our squad, we were probably going to lose because that character is shit. There's always like something that can be taken from these characters because a lot of them have a lot of benefits on them. But it's the witch lady, it's Lennox, the dude with the sort of hand cannon, and then the other dude who looks like he's straight out of an 80s sci-fi cartoon. He has like a white shoulder pad. Nick really liked the look because he reminded me of like
Basic Soldier 42. I love playing that guy. Yeah.
His name is Teo. He's kind of like the character you should go to if you don't have a whole lot of experience with the hero shooters because he has an AR style gun. He has like a white shoulder pad, white earphones. He looks very much like just generic 80s sci-fi action here. He looks like an action figure, honestly. But I love his look, and he's in the cutscene as well. I watched the cutscene a couple times. I enjoyed it. I don't think it's going to be something that really keeps me coming back to watch these cutscenes. Like, it wasn't anywhere on the level of like an Overwatch short where it's making me feel, and I'm like, God damn, that's like a short movie that made me feel
He's
emotional.
Michael Biehn.
Huh?
He's Michael Bean. It's literally aliens. He's Michael Bean.
Oh, right. Yeah. Also kind of reminds me of Snake on the first Metal Gear cover.
Oh yeah.
God,
so
yeah. These shorts are going to make me either want to buy an action figure of my favorite characters or not want to buy an action figure of my favorite characters. That's the goal. If I fall in love with these characters, I'll buy that Nendoroid for $50 of my favorite character. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not going to say right now that it definitely won't happen. I'm not going to say that these shorts are a waste of time and energy because we've only ever seen one. But for the most part, I thought it was okay. I didn't feel like, oh, this is terrible quality, terrible writing or whatever. You're going to have the people that roll their eyes and go, oh, MCU writing, you know, is it behind me? That sort of thing or whatever. I found enjoyment in it, but it wasn't anything that blew me away. Hopefully week 2's, whenever that does pop up, will continue that story and make me want to learn more about that character. And maybe I'll want to buy a little toy of them.
You're not there yet. Going back a little bit to the map design, CJ Splitson writes in with the YouTube super chat asking, should levels have bounce pads and speed boosters?
I don't see why not. I think that maybe I kind of wish it was like Battlefield where you could select a zone or two that's closer when you respawn. Because legitimately there were times, again, like I mentioned earlier, that I'm respawning on the opposite side of the map. And maybe don't allow me to respawn right where all the fight is, because that's what Battlefield does not allow you to do. But maybe I could spawn in the next little rune that's kind of closer by so I don't feel like my team is absolutely screwed. I don't see that. I don't think that would be a terrible idea to kind of, you know, when we've played a game like Pokemon Unite, the best MOBA out there, Mike.
What a terrific MOBA, Tim.
You'll have
sent my soul to that one.
You'll have jump pads and launch pads that allow you to kind of get back to the fight quicker. I don't think that's a terrible idea, but I also don't. I don't think it's like it made me feel like the game will live or die on there being a speed pad or not, you know?
Yeah, I found when I died and I was away from the team, that was my moment to be like, pause, take a deep breath, wait for one of your teammates to die and come back, right? Because I found now you're in that mid game of they're way across the map fighting. Clearly, you just died in that fight. You can either start running, which then puts you solo while they're all respawning behind you, or you wait a second knowing, hey, someone's going to come back. We're going to now team up, chain together, and start moving.
It reminded me of the end of Overwatch matches when it is the dire last 20 seconds of a match. And what always happens if you ever played Overwatch at the end of a match, you select Soldier 76 or Tracer, and you try to get back to the fight faster because they're the fastest characters. So, like, I did find myself doing that near the end of the match. It's like, I'm going to go with Baz, who's a very, very fast lady who has, like, kind of like Genji throwing knives or whatever. Or I would pick Itzy, like Paris was mentioning, just because she's so freaking fast and she can really get back to the fight quicker. So I did find myself doing that and not deciding to go with the big tanky character. Because sometimes you do spawn close to the battle, but sometimes you are very far away.
Paris, we got to talk about it. ES Ford writes in saying $40 gets you all the heroes, maps, and modes forever. This is a $40 game. It is not free to play. Where do you stand on that, having played as much as you have so far?
Let's be crystal clear here. I really enjoy this game. I really do. I am having a lot of fun with it. That is going to be its biggest entry or barrier to entry, I should say, is that $40 price point. I don't think people are going to see that and it's going to get them excited to let me spend $40 and go play Concord. I think they're going to say there's Fragpunk, there's Overwatch, there's X Defiant, obviously Fortnite. There's all these other options, Valorant, that you could go play right now that I don't have to spend that money up front. Call of Duty Warzone, obviously, is another one. That's going to be its biggest issue, is that $40. And Mike, maybe you know better than I do. I'm still not understanding the reasoning on that. I don't know if they talked about that during their preview period when you got to play it, because I understand the story, the weekly story progression, or have the cutscenes and all that, but you're going to still have a battle pass as well. So I'm trying to wrap my head why they're doing the $40 instead of just making it free to play.
Yeah, I took it like this, Paris, of like, this is a content-rich launch, right? I think we live in this world now of free-to-play early access. Hey, we're going to give you X amount, and we're going to add more over time. When I was sitting in the room, it felt like, hey, we are giving you the most possible thing right here, like the old school days of here's the full product, you will buy this, and then you will have a good time with a lot of it instead of, hey, here we're early access, we have 3 maps, 3 game modes, we'll figure it out in a month's time, 3 months' time, right? So to me, it was like, hey, you get a high quality title that is content rich and content full for this price tag. And I think we're going to have a really good discussion here, boys, because I'm excited for this of like, we live in this world right now where people are going, I don't want to play free-to-play games. I get nickeled and dimed after all these microtransactions. There's not enough maps. It's early access. I want a content-rich game. We saw a great one with Baldur's Gate 3, right? Elden Ring. Hey, here's the game for $70. Nothing else. Enjoy it, right? And people celebrate that. Now we get to this $40 shooter, and I just think the market in the world is, no, we're on free-to-play. This is how you win, right? But we want a $40 content-rich title. But now here it is, and I think people are antsy and worried about this.
I think that they've shown kind of enough maneuverability with this beta weekend, because this beta weekend was only supposed to be available to people who pre-ordered the game. And then, leading up to it, said, hey, what if we give it to PS Plus members as well? Just if you have PS Plus, even if you haven't pre-ordered the game, you can hop in or whatever. And I think because of what we've seen there, I would not be surprised to see them make a move leading up to the game where, hey, it's $40, it gets you everything you want. Or it's free to play if you have PS Plus or whatever sort of variation we're looking for. It's free to play if you just like download the game or whatever, but you only have access to the 4 free gunners or to the 6 free gunners. $40 though gets you everything, as opposed to doing what we've seen Overwatch have issues with, which Overwatch just changed recently, where a new hero comes out, you got to pay $10. New hero comes out, you got to pay $10. Overwatch recently did the thing where they're like, all heroes are going to be free now. Similar to Valorant. You want the new hero, you got to either pay or spend an eternity trying to unlock them. Or if you have Xbox Game Pass, you get all of that stuff included. I could see them pivoting and making a move that would get free-to-play players in and say, hey, if you're enjoying this playing with your friends, you want the rest of this roster, $40 to get everything. I can see them pivoting. I think that, again, with what we saw this weekend, that was already a pivot that I didn't expect. And I think that this team isn't married to any idea now. I think that's like, whatever's the best for the player base, whatever gets the most people in, is going to be something that they could switch to.
So yeah, I mean, go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
No, go Paris.
No, I was just going to say, just give you my own personal perspective on all of this. When I saw the showcase and they finally premiered the game, I saw that and I was like, I don't know about this. Like it left a sour taste in my mouth as to what this really could be. And ironically enough, when the previews came out, I didn't get to watch the entire episode, but I saw some of what Mike was saying that intrigued me. I was like, okay, let's give this a fair shot when it comes out. So obviously, we got in this beta. I gave it a fair shot. I am enjoying it. I'm enjoying it enough that me personally, if I have to spend $40 to jump in and play it, okay, I'll do it. No problem. But I think how many people after that showcase have the same feeling that I do of, I don't know about this. That I'm not sure about this. Look, right, wrong, and different. A lot of the chatter this weekend were about how many people were playing it on Steam, even though you had to pre-order it, obviously, to play it on Steam. I think they definitely made a smart move to open it up to PlayStation Plus users. I'm going to be very curious to see what it looks like next week, I believe, right, is the open beta, so everybody can play. Let's see how many people are actually giving it a shot on Steam and on PlayStation 5. And if the numbers are similar, I'm with Andy. I think they got to pivot personally. I don't think you should stand on that $40 price point. Open it up to PlayStation Plus premium users or something like that, right? I do think you're going to need to give an extra nudge to get people in the door to at least get their hands on it and start playing it so they can understand what Concord is, because I think that was my biggest thing. On the surface, I'm like, this looks like just typical generic hero shooter. But once I started playing it and understanding the different layers that this game could provide, now I get it. But I think PlayStation and Firewalk have to do a better job of selling people up front on trying this game. I don't think just saying, hey, here's the beta is enough, honestly. I think you really need to push people to want to go jump in and try this.
I think if they don't make a pivot, I see this game being like a lot of other multiplayer games where free weekend, get in right now, play for free this whole weekend. And whenever I see that, I'm always worried by how the game state, right?
Yeah.
How is that game working right now if you're willing to do this so many times? It's clear that you're trying to get more people in. But yeah, I think that I would not be surprised whatsoever if some sort of pivot was made.
Closing out the price. Go for it, Paris.
I'm sorry. I just want to say, because when does this officially come out? Is it September? I forget.
October
or
or August 23rd, I think.
Yeah, next month.
Right, the end of August.
Yeah.
So you essentially got about 2 months until Call of Duty comes out. If you've not convinced people to want to jump in and really commit to this multiplayer by then, people are just going to go to Black Ops 6.
Or if you're someone like me, is like, I don't want to deal with that player base. I don't want to deal. I do think that that's a legitimate angle of I could find the fun and not have the frustrations in another ecosystem that I'm used to every year. A player like me hopping into Call of Duty multiplayer and going, all right, enough of that. I'll play with Mike and Nick for a while. I'll level up those couple of guns. I think one thing that I really enjoy about Concord, and I mentioned this, is that one thing that I really love about it is something that may be a reason why people aren't into it, is that like I can play Concord without having to worry about what is it feeding into. And I compared it to like the standalone MCU movies, like, yeah, but what does this do for the overall MCU saga? It's like, it doesn't have to. This is just its own standard thing. I like that I am playing this game without the larger goal of leveling these heroes to get them into the war zone or whatever. Playing Call of Duty multiplayer only to level up guns so that they could be good in war zone. I like that this is its own insular, standalone thing that it doesn't have a larger goal of putting me somewhere else. I can just hop in for a couple of rounds, play a bunch of different free gunners, have fun with it like I have. And I've played a lot of these multiplayer games that just didn't work for me. For whatever reason, this game really, really worked for me this weekend.
I want to close out the price conversation with the super chat from Street Shadow here saying, I'm confused. We say we want content-rich games up front, but then ask for more titles to take free-to-play route. I bet I spend less on this than I would with free-to-play. Do you have any thoughts on that, Paris?
Here's my thought on that, because I was talking to a buddy about this yesterday because we were going back and forth on it. This isn't like, hey, I'm giving you this fleshed out campaign that you can jump in and play as a single player experience, right? It reminds me a lot, and I know this is not the same, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. It reminds me of the first Titanfall, whereas it was sold to you as this whole multiplayer that has some quote unquote story elements in it. But is that really enough for the price of entry that you want to go? You want that? How many people want the story of Concord versus I just want a fun multiplayer game to play? You know what I mean? That's kind of where I am on it, that they got a lot to do to sell this game to the public, because you are entering a very crowded PvP market right now. So are you doing enough to stand out from the crowd to justify the $40 price point? And again, I like the game. So it's like, I'm just saying this being realistic about it, because I think one of my biggest worries is I hope that PlayStation is patient with this game. If it does not have the huge population that they expect it to have in like the first 90 days, stick with it. Allow Firewalk to balance it out, squash bugs, listen to community feedback on what they're liking and they don't like, so they can pivot and adjust as they go, and not tank the game, or however I'm trying to say this, right? Because I do think when it comes out, it's probably not going to have the biggest audience at launch, even though I might enjoy the game. Andy enjoys the game. Mike enjoys the game. I think there's people that are going to be hesitant because of that price point. And I understand. We say we don't want free to play. We want these things to be able to, but the truth of the matter is the most played games right now are free to play. It's just fact.
It's also not a known quantity. Right?
Yeah.
Like, you need to know things and trust them to be like, I'm going to convince 4 of my friends to spend $40 alongside me to jump into this, to where we might fall off the end of the weekend 2 weekends from now, a month from now, right? That is what's happening in this shooter market that we're seeing, right? And so a lot of these games that are unknown quantities, hoping to get a little piece of the pie, have to go free to play. And the issue now is you have a game where a lot of these people that have now played it and have checked out this beta are going, oh, it's a pretty good game, right? But then the issue is like, is that enough, though? I think you have to be free to play in this. The Game Pass route or the PlayStation Plus route, like that's how you get these audiences going. And then you sell a little bit on the side. But I mean, for you to spend $40 on this, if they were to come out with a storefront and send $5, $10 skins, you're going to probably spend that if you're enjoying that, right? So you're still going to add on to all of that. You might buy the Battle Pass, right? But this is a weird one of like, I truly don't think this game has the staying power. I don't see a $40 price tag benefiting this game in any way, shape, or form. This is a free-to-play title that has the add-ons of a Battle Pass and skins that will survive longer. This isn't Helldivers, right? Helldivers was PvE that got people excited. This is a PvP competitive shooter. I don't know if this one's got the juice.
So what I'm interested in the conversation of Helldivers and Concord, both PlayStation or at least PlayStation Studios in some way, and the $40 price tag, I would say both of them going into it, people were kind of like, I don't know, like we'll see what this is. Nobody expected Helldivers to be the success that it was at the very least. I think there's a lot more negativity going into Concord, but talking to you guys, there's a good game here. So just a hypothetical conversation here. Imagine what you guys are saying comes to fruition. They listen, they make the changes. Let's even just say PlayStation Plus gets you this game. And then there's all the added ways to make money or whatever, but they make the pivot and that happens. Do you think that this game, based on the quality of what you've played, has the chance, if it was free to play to some extent, to hit, maybe not the way Helldivers did, because that's such a mega success, but like to hit in a way that you would decide is surprising?
Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Yeah. I think a lot of it just comes down to the core of the game already being fun. And me and Mike have played plenty of random, new game that's trying to find its place in this crowded space, and we give up pretty quickly. But for whatever reason, I'm logging in again randomly yesterday, not to stream it, just to kind of have fun, and Blessing's on, so I join his party. And then an hour and a half later, we're still there, and Blessing's like, man, I was planning on packing like about 2 hours ago and turning this game off. And then once I was done packing my stuff for my trip, I was going to stream this game. But I've been here with you playing this game for an hour and a half, and time just kind of flew by because we were having fun. I think that this game could find a decent enough of a player base if they make these moves that we've been mentioning. I think if it stays at $40, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in it. If it's just only 40, I think it could still be 40 if you're like, hey, pay 40, you get everything you want, as opposed to every character that you want is now $10. Pay $40, you get everything that you want.
Ben Brown writes in saying, Sea of Thieves had a very bad launch, but Microsoft kept supporting it, and now it's one of their big success stories. I think the same could happen here. Paris, do you think that there's an opportunity there?
And that's exactly what I'm saying. That's why I hope stick with the game. Don't, if it's not the huge smash, I can't even talk today. I apologize. If it's not a huge hit at launch, give it time, give it legs, let Firewall cook, let them listen to feedback so they can iterate on it and continue to grow it out. I am interested to see how this weekly story and monthly, yearly story progression is going to happen in the game. So let them have that opportunity. Maybe it winds up becoming the thing that allows Concord to stick out from the crowd, right? I think that's why I said at the top, I think there's something good here. The bones of this game of the PvP they're doing. Sure, there's some balancing they're going to need to do. There's some tweaks they're going to need to do, but that's going to come with time. I just hope there's not anything game breaking at launch as far as the meta goes, right? That they can't quickly resolve. I hope that's what this beta period allows them to do, to be able to catch any of that and resolve it before it comes out, at launch. Because if it gets enough time, I do think there's something here, 100%.
When I play that 5v5 Gundam style Overwatch game, or it was Overwatch styled, but you're all a bunch of Gundams, and that first weekend it was like, get in, you could play for free or whatever. It's everybody, let's try it out. And as soon as we saw how overpowered that one melee style Gundam was, I think it was like the Barbados or whatever Gundam, I was like, fuck this game. I'm so annoyed with this. And I usually love Overwatch style games, and I love mechs. And that, I think Paris is right on. That was just enough for me to go, this game is so ridiculously imbalanced, and it's leading to me not having fun already, that I'm down to just not give this a chance anymore. With the small bugs that I've been having on PC of like getting tabbed out, which happens like at least once a match, that's not enough for me to go, fuck this game. I'm so frustrated with it. I think that if it was having the usual launch of games crashing every 2 hours, or while we're in a game, the game just stops working and it boots us out. Like, we see that with a lot of different multiplayer titles these days. I haven't had those issues. And I think that that's a very, very good sign for a game that wants to be as polished as possible at the launch.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah. The final question of the day before we wrap up here. Raymond K. Hessel says, first off, Paris is the sexiest personality in gaming, period. Also, Andy, give it to me. Period. Also, do you think this is a good entry point for people who've never played Overwatch?
Yes, because I've never played Overwatch.
Really, I would call this a different game. I think that
No, I
mean,
think
like
so,
Marvel
yeah.
Rivals is Overwatch to me. This is a team hero arena, more of like a Halo, but with hero type characteristics of players.
Yeah, to me, this is...
I wouldn't call this Overwatch, yeah.
To me, the reason why this differentiates itself enough from Overwatch is that I think you are encouraged to play as many different characters as you can, and their skill pools aren't so deep to where you feel like you're going to have to spend a whole weekend trying to learn one character and to get good with them. I think it's very basic in that every character still has a gun and a melee and a dash. And that's kind of all you need to know for the most part. Where when I look at a game like Marvel Rivals is a lot closer to Overwatch, like you were mentioning, because you have the Hulk, who is a brooding, hulking monster tank that just melees and does like ground pound attacks and does like sort of like melee style things. And that to me is a lot more of a Overwatch style thing, where in this game, everybody still has a gun. It's a first person shooter where you're still using that gun to try to shoot the enemy. But there are other little abilities on top of that sort of change and make that character unique. The fact that everybody still has a weapon, and I'm telling Nick, who loves Call of Duty, oh, you should try out Reinhardt. It's like, oh, I just hold up a shield and have a hammer. That is enough of a separation, I think, to make people who just want a first-person shooter be like, oh, I don't know if I want to play a character that just like uses his hands to punch people. That's kind of odd to me. This is all still like, it's got that one thing that we're all used to. It's like, anybody who's ever played Call of Duty or Halo, I have a gun in my hands. I'm going to try to shoot the opponent.
Yeah, I think it's a good entry point for just first-person shooter games in general, right? This is like a easy wheels on, training wheels on, go give this a try, right? When we played during my press beta, right, there was someone there who clearly really was still learning and was having a blast, right? Chose Raku or Roka, which had the rocket launcher. And it's like, oh, you can blast anywhere. You're having a good time. It's a beautiful world. You're smiling. You're learning the characters. It just felt like the training wheels are on this one, which is a good entry point into the genre.
This isn't like a Valorant where when you move your character while shooting, your bullets go all over the place because they want you to be super disciplined and precise. Nah, just go in there and just try to shoot the enemy character and be around your teammates while doing so.
Well, hell yeah. Shelly writes in last second here saying Concord's the number 8 best-selling pre-order on the UK PlayStation Store, above AC Shadows, etc. They can always go free to play later. What's the rush? Let them cook. Few live games have Sony back, and they have more advantages. We'll see how it all shakes out. We will, I'm sure, talk about this a lot on Games Daily, and I'm sure the Gamescast as y'all play more of the game to see what you think once it actually hits more people and there's a bigger player base. Paris, thank you so much for joining us today. Where can people find you?
Oh, he's muted.
Oh, you're muted.
He said, hey, you only get one first impression. So there's your answer, Shelly. Remember that.
See,
they
my
get
dog
one
was
chance on
barking.
this.
I forgot to go with you. No, you can find me on social media at Vicious696. Obviously, I'm on Gamertag Radio, and I'm right here on Kind of Funny.
Love to see it, everybody. Until next time, remember, we are about to be doing our Captain America trailer live reaction. What's it called? Brave New World, New World Order? Which one did it land on?
Brave New World.
Brave New World.
Frozen
Frozen
Kingdom.
Empire. You're right. Cross Kong. Me, Nick, and Greg are going to live react on Twitch. You can just stay where you are on YouTube. You're going to have to make the jump over to a different video. And then after that, these boys are going to get chained together. It's going to be a fun time. Till next time, love you all. Goodbye.